Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some PathOfExile 1 discussion. Today, we have the very first teaser for patch 3.26, assuming that, like me, you don't really consider it a teaser when Grinding Gear Games announced delays in 3.26's release. Now, the last word that we've had is that they still think they're on track for a June release, and I'm just going to put it out there that I hope they don't choose to release on the weekend of the 14th and 15th of June, because I have some long-standing commitments over that weekend, and if they do launch then, I'm going to have to miss League Start, which is going to hurt. All of that out of the way, let's talk about what was revealed today. This is an in-universe diary entry, and it contains just tiny bits of information that we lack the context to be absolutely sure on what they mean. But let's start with a little bit of a breakdown. Firstly, what is it that's on the leftmost page, you might be asking? Well, that is just lorem ipsum text, i.e. complete and utter gibberish. There is nothing to be seen over there. However, on the right-hand side, we have this mysterious diary entry with the wording, "For the first time in my life, I've found meaning. Purpose. A path has revealed itself, winding inexorably towards the Atlas. There are secrets buried there. I know it. Secrets I was born to find. The trail is set, and I must follow it to find the originator." Now, there's a number of people that could have conceivably written this. The most common speculation I've seen online is that it is Zana. Now, Zana is a character that you will encounter in very small amounts when you're fighting the Shaper, the Elder, and the Uber Elder encounter. She will show up and she'll play a minor role during those encounters. In canon, she is the Shaper's daughter, and she used to be a major NPC that we would interact with, really all the way from patch 1.2 through to patch 3.9. After that, she pretty much washed her hands of the player base and has gone off and done her own thing without us. Small echoes of her presence remain when you fight pinnacle bosses, but she's not someone that we deal with anywhere near as often as we used to. The reason that I don't think that this is necessarily Zana, though, is that I think there's a better candidate, and it's actually Zana's father, a man by the name of Veldo Caesarius, who we know better as the Shaper. The reason I think this is that patch 3.6 Synthesis League, which overwhelmingly did not go core, told us the whole backstory of Veldo's life when he was younger. Veldo was a man who was working for the Templars, who was working for High Templar Venarius, yes, that Venarius that's the boss of the Cortex, and he was asked by Venarius to research all of the details of the Atlas, and while he was there, he found a very, very powerful artifact, the sword Starforge, which happened to be binding a powerful adversary. Of course, young Veldo makes the mistake of reporting this to Venarius and mentioning, "I advise against removing this artifact because it is keeping some sort of terrible being at bay." And Venarius goes, "Huh, terrible being, I can be a terrible being," goes and draws the sword, and in doing so frees the Elder, and this becomes the beginning of the lore of the Shaper and the Elder's war for control of the Atlas, which was a major part of the game from patch 3.1 through to 3.8. And of course, we then get to see this backstory in 3.6 during this era. So that's the reason that I think that it could well be good old Veldo that is the person who's written this note, although I'm not certain about this. It of course poses the question of who and what is the originator. And the only thing I can say here is that I'm expecting that this mysterious figure, the originator, will play a significant role, probably as an adversary, but maybe as an ally, during patch 3.26's storyline. Anyways, there's a lot of speculation people have raised that this could end up being a substantial shakeup of the Atlas in 3.26. All of that is something that's up in the air. I guess we'll find out more once Grinding Gear Games go into full teaser season. So for those of you that have come to the channel during patch 0.2.0 teaser season over in PathOfExile 2, what I will be doing during teaser season in 3.26 is much the same thing. I'm going to be reporting upon all of the teasers that Grinding Gear Games put out, and talking about some of the things that I think will be consequences of various things that get teased. I tend to take a fairly optimistic approach to it, so if an item has a definite use but it's not as good as the very best builds in PathOfExile 1 at the moment, I'll still raise them, partly because a lot of those very best builds are likely to get nerfed. I certainly don't think that Lightning Strike will be as strong in 3.26 as it was in 3.25, and often that's enough to make something that looks like it's a corner case use for an item end up becoming something that's meta defining. And even if it's not, often people can have fun playing something that isn't necessarily the strongest thing around, as long as it's something that ends up being reasonable. So that's my plans as we go into 3.26 teaser season. I have no idea when the expansion is going to drop, I definitely think, given the number of patches that PathOfExile 2 has had during the last few weeks, that I think it's quite likely PathOfExile 1 will be launching 3.26 towards the end of June rather than towards the beginning of June. So hopefully that works for me with the 14th, 15th commitments I've got, but ultimately we don't know that yet. Granny Games typically provide a firm launch date once they're sure of it, and that tends to be 3 or 4 weeks out from the expansion hitting. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. May your Varlorbs have interesting results, and please don't use one on the 3.26 expansion.